You're watching All 24 News World News Program, broadcasting to you live from the capital, Algiers. To the headlines. A ceasefire takes effect in Gaza after a new agreement to end the war. But Hamas says the occupation gained nothing through genocide or talks, while bombings continue across the Strip. Also coming up, the UN urges using the Gaza ceasefire as a real path to peace and is ready to move aid in immediately amid growing calls for its full and immediate implementation. In our news as well, President Abdelmajid Tebboune visits the Defense Ministry, saying the army has adapted to hybrid and cyber warfare. He adds that the nation's security and stability have boosted its economic appeal. And later on, Algeria is headed to the 2026 World Cup, securing its spot with a victory against Somalia. And President Tebboune hailed the national team's achievements, saying they brought joy to Algerians at home and abroad. Welcome back. Leading our news tonight, Hamas has announced an agreement to end the genocide in Gaza and secure the withdrawal of the occupation forces. In a statement on Thursday, the movement said the deal, reached after resistance-led talks in Sharm el-Sheikh, includes the entry of humanitarian aid and a prisoner exchange, affirming that Palestinians' sacrifices will not be in vain.
Following responsible and serious negotiations conducted by the movement and the Palestinian resistance factions regarding President Trump's proposal in Sharm el-Sheikh, aimed at reaching a halt to the genocide against our Palestinian people, ensuring the withdrawal of the occupation from the Gaza Strip, and allowing the entry of aid, the Islamic resistance movement Hamas announces that an agreement has been reached to end the war on Gaza. We affirm that our people's sacrifices will not be in vain, and we will remain true to our pledge. We will never abandon our people's national rights until freedom, independence, and self-determination are achieved.
U.S. President Donald Trump announced that the war in Gaza is over, expressing confidence that lasting peace will follow. Speaking at the White House on Thursday, Trump said all remaining hostages will be released early next week and pledged to help rebuild Gaza. He also revealed plans to visit the Middle East soon for the signing of the final peace agreement. Hamas urged U.S. President Donald Trump and the guarantor states to ensure the occupation fully complies with the agreement and does not evade its commitment. Speaking to All 24 News, Hamas representative in Algeria, Youssef Hamdan, praised the mediators' efforts to end the genocide in Gaza, facilitate the entry of aid, and secure a prisoner exchange.
After responsible and serious negotiations conducted by the movement and the Palestinian resistance factions regarding President Trump's proposal in Sharm el-Sheikh, with the aim of reaching a ceasefire to end the genocide against our Palestinian people and securing the withdrawal of the occupation from the Gaza Strip, we announce that an agreement has been reached. The agreement stipulates ending the war in Gaza, the withdrawal of the occupation, the entry of humanitarian aid, and the exchange of prisoners. We call on President Trump, the guarantor states of the agreement, and all Arab, Islamic, and international parties to compel the occupation government to fully implement the obligations of the agreement and not allow it to evade or delay the implementation of what has been agreed upon.
Hamas representative in Algeria, Youssef Hamdan, praised Algeria's efforts, highlighting its diplomatic battle at the UN Security Council to defend the people of Gaza and uphold the Palestinian cause.
We thank the countries that stood with us in our struggle and our battle, and we especially mention Algeria, which fought alongside us in the diplomatic arena at the UN Security Council, within the international community, and on every front where we confronted the enemy to defend our rights. We salute our great people in the Gaza Strip, in Al-Quds, in West Bank, inside the homeland and abroad, who have recorded unparalleled stances of honor, bravery, and dignity.
A senior Hamas official, Izzat al-Rishq, declared the Gaza ceasefire a definitive Palestinian victory. He stated the occupation failed to achieve its goals through both war and negotiations, and this agreement embodies Palestinian unity and the success of the resistance, fulfilling the covenant of their sacrifices and the achievements of October 7th. The ceasefire in Gaza took effect on Thursday afternoon after 4 days of indirect negotiations between Hamas and the Zionist entity in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. However, Hebrew media reported that the truce will not be fully enforced until it is ratified by the Zionist government, which is expected to approve the ceasefire and a prisoner exchange deal during a cabinet meeting at 5 p.m. GMT. For now, occupation forces will refrain from offensive operations but will not withdraw until the agreement is confirmed. Gazans flooded the streets early Thursday to celebrate the ceasefire agreement, marking a hopeful step toward ending the war on the Strip. Local sources said dozens gathered at Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital in Deir al-Balah, expressing joy over the truce, while similar celebrations erupted in the streets of Khan Yunis in southern Gaza.
We are so happy after 2 years of destruction, hunger, killing, and genocide. Thank God that it is over. We ask God to spare the bloodshed, have mercy on our martyrs, and free our prisoners. With God's will, we are very happy. We thank everyone who has helped contribute to the end of the war.
Zionist occupation aircraft launched airstrikes on Khan Yunis just as the ceasefire took effect, wounding several Palestinian civilians, according to medical sources in southern Gaza. Meanwhile, several Palestinians were killed and others injured in violent Zionist airstrikes on the Gaza Strip since dawn. Medical sources reported at least 9 martyrs, including children and women from the same family, after occupation warplanes bombed densely populated residential areas. The Gaza government media office urged residents to remain cautious despite reports of a ceasefire. In a statement early Thursday, it called on Palestinians to limit movement until an official confirmation is issued, warning of possible violations or acts of treachery by the Zionist occupation at the moment the truce takes effect. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres urged turning the Gaza ceasefire into tangible progress toward lasting peace based on a two-state solution. In a statement Thursday, he called for seizing this critical moment to end the occupation and uphold the Palestinian right to self-determination while ensuring full, safe, and sustained access of humanitarian aid in Gaza.
We and our partners are prepared to move now. We have the expertise, the distribution networks, the community relationships in place to act. Supplies are in place and our teams are on standby. We can scale up food, water, medical and shelter assistance at once. But to turn this ceasefire into real progress, we need more than the silencing of the guns. We need full, safe and sustained access for humanitarian workers, the removal of red tape and impediments, and the rebuilding of shattered infrastructure. I urge all to seize this momentous opportunity to establish a credible political path forward. A path towards ending the occupation, recognizing the right to self-determination of the Palestinian people and achieving a two-state solution. A path to a just and lasting peace between Israelis and Palestinians and to wider peace and security in the Middle East.
UN Under-Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs Tom Fletcher said Thursday the UN teams are ready to deploy large-scale aid convoys to save lives in Gaza. In a post on X platform, he welcomed the agreement to halt the aggression and affirmed the UN's readiness to deliver urgent humanitarian assistance to the Strip without delay. Algeria expressed hope that the implementation of the first phase of US President Donald Trump's peace plan in Gaza will pave the way for a lasting and just solution to the Palestinian issue, ensuring the people's legitimate right to an independent state within the 1967 borders with Al-Quds as its capital. In a statement, the Foreign Ministry said Algeria views the agreement as a first step toward ending the Zionist aggression, welcoming the immediate ceasefire and the urgent entry of humanitarian aid, long-standing demands Algeria has consistently championed to ease the suffering of the Palestinian people. Following Hamas's signing of the ceasefire agreement, the Turkish Foreign Ministry voiced hope that the negotiations' momentum would advance a two-state solution, praising the mediation efforts of Qatar, Egypt, and the United States. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan affirmed that Turkey will closely monitor the agreement's implementation and continue supporting its enforcement on the ground in the Strip.
We will meticulously monitor the strict implementation of the agreed-upon provisions of the agreement. As Turkey, we will helpfully take part in the task force that will monitor the implementation of the agreement on the ground.
For his part, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer welcomed the Gaza ceasefire agreement, calling for its full and immediate implementation and urging the lifting of all restrictions on humanitarian aid.
To strongly welcome the news that a deal has been reached on the first stage of President Trump's peace plan for Gaza. This will come as a profound relief for the hostages and their families and the civilian population in Gaza and for the whole world. And we will now work with our partners to ensure that this deal is implemented in full and without delay.
Switching focus to a different news story now. Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces and Minister of National Defense, visited the Ministry of National Defense headquarters on Thursday. The presidency announced. He was received by Minister Delegate to the Minister of National Defense, Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, General Said Shingriha, before meeting with senior army executives and personnel. Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces and Minister of National Defense, affirmed that the Algerian army now adapted to hybrid and cyber warfare and artificial intelligence. He added that the army has become a supreme school of patriotism, defending the nation's sovereignty and upholding the legacy of November 1st, 1954.
الجيش اللي تأقلم مع الحروب الهجينة، تأقلم مع الحروب السيبرانية، تأقلم مع الذكاء الاصطناعي، أصبح اليوم مدرسة عليا للوطنية وللدفاع الشرس عن حريتنا وحرمة ترابنا وعن الوفاء لرسالة أول نوفمبر 1954.
Similarly, President Abdelmadjid Tebboune stressed that Algeria's security and stability ensured by the army and security forces have strengthened the country's economic appeal and boosted confidence among domestic and foreign investors.
أمن والاستقرار متاع البلاد اللي هو على كتف الجيش الوطني الشعبي، قوات الأمن هو اللي خلى الجاذبية اقتصادية تاع المستثمرين وطنيين أجانب.
President Abdelmajid Tebboune praised the Algerian army and security institutions for their decisive role in combating the scourge of drugs and protecting society from its dangers.
رغم الحروب اللي اليوم تتوجه الجزائر وأصعبها المس بالشباب تاعنا، هذا إغراق الجزائر بالمخدرات أساسها هذا هو أساسها باش يقضي لك على المستقبل تاعك، والمستقبل تاعك راه في الشباب. اليوم راه في 30 سنة، منين يوصل ل 50 سنة ولا 55 سنة إن شاء الله راه ركيزة من الركائز الاقتصادية تاع البلاد ولا ركيزة سياسية نتاع الوطنية ونتاع كذا، راهم يدخلوا لنا في السموم. ولولا يقظة الجيش الوطني الشعبي ولولا يقظة مصالح الأمن المختلفة لكانت الكارثة.
Minister Delegate to the Minister of National Defense, Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, General Said Chingri, has stressed that the unity between the people, their leadership, and state institutions is the foundation of Algeria's security and stability. Welcoming President Tebboune, Chingriha praised the President's strategic vision to build a strong state, a resilient economy, and a powerful army capable of facing external challenges. Moving on to a different matter, the Polisario Front reaffirmed that the Sahrawi people, after years of sacrifice for a just peace, will never give up their rights and will keep fighting for freedom and independence by all legitimate means. Speaking at the UN, Representative Sidi Mohammed Omar said peace and justice are impossible under a repressive occupation.
Let us be absolutely clear. There is no peace and no justice under a brutal occupation rooted in repression, tyranny, and terror. The time has come to call things by their names and act accordingly. Morocco's occupation of Western Sahara is illegal and must end immediately. The United Nations is not merely a place for meeting. It is a moral compass, a force for peace, and a guardian of international law. The United Nations must fully assume its responsibility toward Western Sahara and enable our people to exercise their inalienable right to self-determination, freely and democratically.
The Sahara Human Rights Coordinator mechanism warned that any economic activity in occupied Western Sahara without the Polisario Front's approval, the sole legitimate representative of the Sahrawi people, violates international law and European Court of Justice rulings. In a statement reported by the Sahrawi news agency, it called such actions a clear breach of international legality.
Organizing any economic activity without the approval of the Polisario Front, the sole and legitimate representative of the Sahrawi people, as affirmed by international legal treatment and rulings of the European Court of Justice, is illegal. Morocco holds no sovereignty over the territory, and any exploitation of its resources or investment on its land without the consent of the Sahrawi people is null and void.
Moving on to Russia or Eastern Europe, Russian President Vladimir Putin admitted his country's responsibility for the Azerbaijan Airlines crash late last year that killed 38 people. Speaking alongside Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev, Putin said the plane was struck by shrapnel from Russian air defense missiles targeting Ukrainian drones. Algeria has raised the bar for regional energy events. The 13th edition of NEPAC 2025 wrapped up in Iran with record participation, strategic breakthroughs, and a clear message. The country is positioning itself as a driving force in the energy transition across Africa, the Mediterranean, and beyond. More details in this report now.
The 13th edition of the NAPEC 2025 has set a new benchmark for energy events in the region, underscoring Algeria's growing leadership in the transition towards a more sustainable and diversified energy future. NAPEC 2025 was marked by significant upgrades in scale, content, and strategic focus. The event brought together global energy leaders, investors, and innovators under one roof, the largest participation since its creation.
I figured out that Sonatrach made a really great event. So the full exhibition, also compared to the other years, is expanding, with a strong focus now on unconventionals, which we are personally, basically, our company is working in. I really believe that Algeria is a rising star, basically, in the oil and gas industry, and there are a lot of opportunities for further exploration and field development.
For the first time, the conference achieved a true continental and Mediterranean reach, attracting high-level delegations from Europe, the Gulf, Asia, and Sub-Saharan Africa. National institutions, including Sonatrach and Al Naft, and many other Algerian companies of different services played an even stronger role in co-organizing and showcasing Algeria's energy potential.
NAPEC gave us all the chance to build a great network of clients. Also, NAPEC gathered some of the best personalities in the energy industry. On behalf of my team, we deeply thank NAPEC and its sponsors for this event.
NAPEC has really helped us to grow and expand our network in the oil and gas sector. It has given us the chance to meet international companies and exchange future projects and future collaborations. It also helped us to have more chance to work with international and national companies.
The event's organization also saw upgrades, from a more interactive exhibition layout and digital access to sessions to increased security and logistics coordination across institutions in Iran. As the curtains closed on this edition, NAPEC 2025 stands out as more than just a trade show. It has become a strategic platform where Algeria reaffirms its position as a bridge between Africa, the Mediterranean, and Europe, and as a nation ready to lead the regional energy transition.
To sports news, Algeria is back among football's elite. It has officially qualified for the 2026 FIFA World Cup in the United States, Mexico, and Canada. A 3-0 win over Somalia on Thursday guaranteed Algeria first place in Group G in African qualifying. The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, congratulated the national football team after qualifying for the 2026 World Cup following their victory over Somalia. President Tebboune praised the national team, saying they brought joy to Algerians at home and abroad. 1,000 thanks to the Greens, he wrote, praying for lasting happiness for Algeria. And finally, at the World Expo Saka 2025, Algeria made a lasting impression with a captivating display of its cultural heritage and growing tourism ambitions. From ancient crafts to breathtaking landscapes, the North African nation used the global stage to highlight its identity, attract international visitors, and position itself as a rising star in sustainable cultural tourism. Yasin reports now.
At World Expo Saka 2025, Algeria captivated visitors with a vibrant display of traditional garments, handcrafted jewelry, and richly woven carpets from across its regions. The exhibition highlighted thousands of years of craftsmanship and the cultural depth that defines the nation's identity.
Je présente une collection de costumes du centre.
I am presenting a collection of traditional outfits from across Algeria. This diversity in clothing truly reflects the country's rich cultural heritage. Visitors, whether Japanese or from abroad, are often amazed by the variety and depth of Algerian traditions.
Beyond the artistry, Algeria used the event to promote its vast tourism potential from the blue shores of the Mediterranean and the Roman ruins of Timgad and Tipaza to the majestic Sahara dunes and Kabyli's Green Mountains. This diversity offers travelers an authentic experience shaped by history, hospitality, and natural beauty.
تشارك وزارة السياحة والصناعة التقليدية ممثلة بالديوان الوطني للسياحة.
The Ministry of Tourism and Handicrafts, represented by the National Tourism Office, is participating in the second week of tourist destinations in Osaka from October 2 to 8, 2025, where we are distributing several brochures and leaflets about tourism in Algeria, and we are showing videos about tourist attractions as well as virtual tours.
The Algerian Investment Promotion Agency is participating in the Expo 2025 Osaka within the framework of the promotional week of the Algeria destination. Our presence at the Algeria Pavilion aims to highlight the image of an open and competitive Algeria. Our agency seeks to showcase the economic potential and competitive advantages of our country, while emphasizing the incentives and facilitative measures established by the investment law for the benefit of foreign investors.
To turn this heritage into a sustainable economic force, Algeria is focusing on building stronger tourism infrastructure, improving accessibility, and promoting investment.
تختتم الجزائر مشاركتها في معرض إكسبو.
Algeria concluded its participation in Expo 2025 Osaka, Japan, which spanned over 6 months, with positive results highlighting the country's ongoing developmental transformations and economic reforms. The Algerian Pavilion also featured a variety of presentations showcasing development opportunities across different regions of the country, along with exhibitions of traditional crafts that reflected the richness and diversity of Algeria's cultural heritage.
Participation in global platforms like Expo Osaka allows the country to demonstrate its capabilities and stand out for its cultural richness and diversity, positioning Algeria as one of Africa's most promising and authentic destinations.
158 countries are participating in the Expo. 7,000 to 10,000 visitors are here in queues to visit the Algerian Pavilion. So the Algerian Pavilion is showing a lot of potential in these final days, while it's trying to target and respect the theme, which is for a better society or for a better future society for all our lives. This is Yassine Rekti reporting for All 24 News Channel from Osaka, Japan.
And that wraps up our news program for tonight. For more updates, you can always check our social media platforms. Thanks for watching and good night.